Hey there, everybody. Greetings. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums alongside in the co-captain's chair from the Monsters Den in the Hudson Valley Squares, the king of Hudson horror, Mr. Chris Alo himself.
What's going on, Pete? What's going on, everybody?
How you been, man? All right?
Yep, hanging in there. Thankfully, the week's almost done. Or
Yeah.
depending on when this airs, the week's already done. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the weekend's act. By the time this airs on Sunday, the weekends are, well, it's Sunday morning. So for everybody watching, happy Sunday morning, everybody. Yes.
I
But
mean,
when
so
Chris and
have
I
a
talked,
3-day weekend still. So
yeah, there you go. That's right. That's right. 3 day
yeah,
weekend this weekend. So yeah. So there we go, breaking the fourth wall again. No, we didn't tape this on Sunday. Well, it is what it is. Just so you guys know, this is an after Monsters Den taping, so it's late, but we've been trying to bring you guys this for months and months and months. The day has arrived, ranking the albums of the great extreme metal legends Venom.
yep,
16 albums, right? Is that what
yeah.
we
That
said?
we're
16
that we're
albums? Yes.
counting.
16 albums. We're going to do them all for
Yeah,
you. Chris has
and
got
it's
all
and
the
it's
props.
funny when we were talking about this the other day. Jamie Laszlo was like, "I didn't even know they had that many albums." Like, yeah, and not only do they have that many albums, this is an entire box of compilations. Iron Maiden and Deep Purple are the kings of the live records, but Venom undoubtedly are the king of the compilation albums. This would have taken forever, but we maybe one day we'll do a ranking the Venom compilation albums because there's a lot of them.
Like, you got a lot of studio albums, so you got to have a lot of compilations, right?
Yes, that's true.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that's true.
I guess. So I'm relying on Chris today with all the props because he actually owns more Venom albums than I do. And I figure I was going to go sifting through and finding all my stuff. But Chris is like, I got them all out except for one. So
Yep.
what we're going to do is,
Downstairs, I have the limited edition uh, box set that Kronos put out,
yep.
where he did them all. And the last time I touched them was for an episode of Hudson Valley Squares. And yes, I did have to wear rubber gloves. I didn't feel like wearing rubber gloves tonight, so I'm like, I'll fuck it. I'll just do CDs tonight.
There you go.
But I thought about it because it's still in the box.
Yeah, you want to keep that as pristine as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear it. So, seeing as we got 16 albums here, we're not going to talk a lot about each one, but we'll rank them in the order that we like them, and we'll start from number 16 and work our way back to number one. And I'll have Chris kick us off with his number 16.
Okay. Yeah. With the worst Venom album, I had another one as my worst. In fact, I was kind of arguing with my buddy Sean because he had another one, and I was confusing it. But then when I re-listened to this one, and I said to Pete right before we went on air with this, I was like, until I re-listened to all of them again, I guess I kind of didn't realize how many there are that I would just listen to a couple times when I bought it and then put it on the shelf. And, probably the worst thing about being a Venom fan is that they never fucking tour. So I know for myself, when I buy a record from a band, I listen to it, but then most of the time I'm seeing them in concert. So I tend to listen to it more once the concert comes up. Well, because Venom never fucking tour, I never pull those albums back and it just sits on the shelf. And for this assignment, I go, holy Jesus, I don't remember any of these fucking songs.
They didn't tour for 15 years, right? And they released 5 albums in that span, so
right.
They went right on the shelf.
Venom did not tour America from 1986 till 2006. So that's a 20-year gap. And they have done 0 tours after 2006, at least in America. They've done a couple spot shows here and there. I saw them at Maryland Death Fest. I know they did a show in Texas, and they did a show in I want to say Canada a couple of years ago. But you're right, no Venom tours. Venom Inc. does tour, and we'll talk about that. But all right, so my number 16, my feeling that the worst Venom record is Metal Black. This is the store-bought copy, and this is the promo copy that the record company sent to me. I had a different one, but then I was like, oh, wait, what about Metal Black? And on the other one, which is also really not a good record, at least I liked 1 or 2 songs. I put this as my worst because I can't pick a single song that I actually like. And I just re-listened to it again right before we did Monsters Den, and I'm like, yeah, it's all stinkers. Sorry, Kronos, but I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about this catalog is like you have the really, really notable albums, then you have all the rest, and all the rest are kind of like there's some good stuff on there, there's
Yeah.
some really mediocre stuff on there, and I think for me, like the bottom half of my list, none of these albums really stand out from each other. They're all kind of like in this mire of just
Yeah.
mediocrity, which they're not terrible. I've heard way worse stuff than some of these albums, but when you have these like groundbreaking albums and you have all this other stuff, it's like, I'm going to go with from 1992 as my number 16, The Wastelands, which again has some good stuff on it. Overall, it's kind of mediocre. So this is Demolition Man, Mantis, and Steve White and Abaddon. All right, on this particular album. Plus, you got a keyboard player on here as well, which is kind of weird.
Yes, way too many keyboards.
Yeah, way too many keyboards for Venom, right? I mean, Cursed is a terrible song. Need to Kill, terrible. But then you got Kissing the Beast, which is pretty good. Shadow King is okay. And Wolverine to me seems like that's like a song that they're really trying to capture the early glory. But overall, it's a really, really spotty album. It could rank higher, others could rank lower. I don't know. But The Wastelands to me is kind of a waste for Venom. So that's my number 16.
Nice. All right, my next one is the most recent Venom album, Storm the Gates. This came out in 2018. And there's two songs that I did like, Notorious and 100 Miles to Hell. And Kronos, there's the Venom version, the Kronos version of Venom and the Venom Inc. version of Venom. And it's funny because Venom Inc. put out a 10-inch single, and the Kronos version of Venom did 100 Miles to Hell at like the same exact time they put out a single to combat them, which, since we're talking Venom Inc. has a brand new record coming out on September 23rd called There's Only Black. And guess what's coming out the same exact day? Kronos' Venom is putting out a box set, the box set of I can't even remember what the hell it's called. I haven't, the compilation some here, but the vinyl version that I just talked about, there's like $300 box set, which is all vinyl. Kronos is now releasing it as a 7-disc CD box set, and it's dirt cheap. It's only $54. But he's purposely putting that out same exact day as the new Venom record.
Of course.
But yeah, this record I really didn't like that much, other than those two songs. Songs are very samey and forgettable. And this is the one that I was just talking. Sean's like, yeah, that album sucks. I'm like, no, that album's pretty good. I was confusing it with another record.
My number 15 is Hell from 2008. Kronos, LaRage, Anton, or however the hell he says his name. Another messy album, really terrible production on this. I mean, I know
terrible production,
really bad. I mean, we've made fun of those early Venom albums as far as production goes for many, many years, but that's like the charm about them. But all these years later, come on, guys, you got to give me a little bit more than that. The drums are way too loud on it, but most importantly, the songs just aren't memorable, even though it is a pretty heavy album. I mean, Fall from Grace, pretty good song. Title track is good. Armageddon is pretty cool, but other than that, not much else of note here. Just kind of like a messy, just non-distinct album later in their career. It's unfortunately, you have a lot of these legacy bands, veteran bands, who are putting out some really great material like late in the game. I'd argue Venom isn't one of them, right? So some of these albums are just, they're okay, but
none of these are firepower.
No,
that's for sure.
No,
or the equivalent of the last couple Saxon records. So.
Right, or Overkill or Testament or any of these bands that are kicking ass. No, they're not.
No, for sure. My next one is Fallen Angels, which came out in 2011. There was a couple songs I liked. I liked Hammerhead and Valley of the Kings. I thought there was some decent lead work on there. But this is the version that has 2 bonus tracks, which bumps it up to 15 songs. And yeah, that's too much. It's too long. It's too samey. Very forgettable.
Well, keep that out because Fallen Angels is my number 14 as well.
Nice. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, Hammerhead, fun song. Pedal to the Metal is cool. It's so cliche ridden, but it's actually kind of cool song. And I love the riffing on Damnation of Souls. But yeah, the rest of it, it's just really average, just really average. And again, none of these albums just, you don't listen to them and you're not kind of like, wow, that's a really good Venom album. You're like, okay, it's a Venom album.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a little bit more, but I guess it's cool they're still making new music because you got to give them credit for that, right?
Well, that's the thing too. You know, most bands, well, of course, you know Pete better than anybody. Most bands, especially the older bands, they're still putting out new records so they can promote a new record when they tour.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand the business model of Venom the Kronos Venom as an entity, putting all this time and effort into recording a new record, but then not touring. Like they'll
and
just
the records aren't going to sell, so
right. So they do 2 spot shows in a summer, and that's it.
Because it's not like the old Motorhead formula. Because Motorhead would put out a record every year, and they would tour every year,
tour their asses off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange business model. I don't understand it myself.
Yeah. Oh well. All right, 13. What do you got?
Yeah, this was originally one of my very last ones, but then I heard some of these other ones, and I'm like, oh, maybe I like this one a little better. The Wastelands. It's a terrible cover.
Yeah.
Terrible that they didn't use the old Venom logo. It's got a bunch of songs written about movies. Clarice, and I believe it's I'm Paralyzed, were both written about Silence of the Lambs. Riddle of Steel is written about Conan the Barbarian. I always assumed Wolverine was about the comic book character. There's way too many keyboards. A couple of the songs are all right. It's definitely an experimental record. And this was the record when they got Demolition Man, they did a 3-album deal. And this was the third of the 3-album deal. And it definitely shows it. I mean, the band was dead in the water, and they shit this thing out. And I just got this. I got the Demolition Man box set because for years I could not find, even though they're not good records, the Wastelands and Temples of Ice. So I just got this. They did a limited box set, and I was able to finally get them. But yeah, not good stuff.
And that cover is just absolutely awful.
Oh, just terrible.
Yeah. All right, my number 13 from 1987, Calm Before the Storm. Some folks might be saying that that's pretty low for a late 80s album when Venom were still kind of like at the top of their game. But yeah, I don't know. Production's really off on this album for me. They got two guitar players on this album. I think also the production sounds really clean for them. You know, it's like I think Venom shouldn't be kind of sophisticated sounding, but there's some good songs. Black Christmas, great song. Chanting of the Priest, Metal Punk, Fire, really good songs. Decent enough album. Even though it's coming in fairly low, it's still pretty decent. But again, amongst like the earlier albums, it's definitely not one of my favorites. But your mileage may vary.
Nice. Yep. I like that one. More on that in a bit.
Okay.
My next, I don't even know what number this is. Temples of Ice.
12.
This is the second record with Tony Dolan, the Demolition Man. It's definitely slightly better than the Wastelands, but not nearly as good as the first record he did, which was Primeval. Couple all right songs. In Memory Of, I really liked. I kind of like their cover of Speed King from Deep Purple. Tribes is okay. So yeah, kind of middle of the road. Not great, but not awful.
That's also my number 12.
Nice.
From 91. Yeah.
And another one you couldn't find in the States.
Yeah. And I don't mind the production on this one. It's definitely not as muddy sounding. But the songs are not terrible on this album. I think there's some good stuff on it. You mentioned Tribes. Fairy Tale is kind of weird for them. It's a little more of a straight ahead metal song with like cleaner vocals. So it's kind of odd to hear from Venom, but it's a pretty good song. Playtime, it kicks ass. Acid, Temples of Ice, Arachnid, all really good songs. I think it's a good mix of stuff from them. But, you know, again, comes in number 12 because it is kind of middle of the road. It's not one of their heaviest albums, but I think it's got a good mix of stuff there. So that's my number 12.
All right, my next one is Resurrection from 2000. I remember listening to this record a lot when it came out because I was I was expecting some kind of U.S. tour. I did fly to California to see them in the year 2000 when this record came out, and of course, Venom canceled. I don't know who's got a worse track record, Venom or Ozzy Osbourne. It's close. I think Ozzy cancels more gigs just because he books more gigs.
Yeah.
But yeah, this album's not great. It was Mantis and Kronos with Kronos's drummer, Kronos's brother, who was a really good drummer. I think it was Anton on drums. I liked the track Resurrection. I liked Black Flame of Satan. But a lot of it's kind of like a lot of these, it's kind of forgettable. You know, if I had the determination, I guess, of Jamie Laszlo, I could make a great 2-disc best of all these, you know, medium Venom records, and you know, like Jamie at his job, print off a nice cover and everything, and make it like a real record. But I don't have that determination. I'm too lazy, so forget it. But yeah, Resurrection.
All right, my number 11 from 2007, Metal Black. So here you got Kronos, however he said, Mikas and Anton. Not a bad album. Burn in Hell, pretty crushing. House of Pain, pretty heavy. Death and Dying is good. Rage Satanus, I like. And then it's got a really kick-ass song named Assassin, which I like a lot. So a handful of really, really strong tracks. The rest of it is kind of like average, but not bad. Not a bad album. So Metal Black.
All right, my next one, Pete mentioned it earlier, and yeah, the production is really rough, but I kind of liked some of the songs, and it's 2008's Hell, which now Pete and I tried to do the Venom ranking a couple times. So like in the last year, I went through the whole catalog like 3 times, and one of the previous times I had Hell as my worst Venom record. So when I re-listened to it the other day, I'm like, oh, you know, Hand of God and Stab You in the Back and USA for Satan, a couple of these, I really liked them. So I'm like, fuck, why did I hate it that first, you know, who knows? Again, it's got 2 bonus tracks, a track Burn in Hell and a re-recording of In League with Satan. Like many of these, too many songs, just too much material. But again, even though despite the production, it was heavy. Kronos's vocals were definitely on the loud side, so I kind of liked it, but overall,
cool. All right, number 10 for me. You had a pretty lower, but I actually don't mind this album. Storm the Gates from 2018, most recent album. Pretty heavy, actually. And you know what's really weird about this album? It almost sounds like Celtic Frost to me in a lot of spots, which is kind of weird because, you know, they both came up together. So it's kind of odd. I listened to it. I'm like, oh my God, this could almost be a Celtic Frost album. Bring Out Your Dead, really good song. I, Dark Lord is kind of weird and experimental, kind of different. 100 Miles to Hell is good. Destroyer is kick-ass heavy. I don't know. I think it's a pretty fun, heavy album. But again, like you've been saying, it's like if we were to do this again a month from now, it might be at the bottom. Who knows?
Yeah. So. I was gonna say, you're selling me, Pete. Maybe I need to go back and listen to it again.
I kind of did. When it first came out, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then I re-listened to it. I'm like, yeah, it's still pretty good. So
there's so many of these. And like I said, I do consider myself a pretty big Venom fan, but I guess it's, you know, front loaded of the early days and then, you know, scattered in here and there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot to take in. And this record, this was the last one that of the newer, you know, Venom albums, I guess, that I really liked. From the Very Depths. I really like the title track, From the Very Depths. I like The Death of Rock and Roll. I really like The Wings of Valkyrie and the last song, Rise, which I absolutely love. This came out in 2015, and I listened to this record a lot because in 2016 I saw them. They came to America once for the Maryland Death Fest, and they were awesome. So yeah, I actually do like. I thought this album was pretty good.
More on that later. That's actually a pretty damn good album, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 9 for me is 1989's Primeval. Another that probably ranked higher for some people. Mantis back in the band, but now Kronos is out. It's like, the fuck?
Right.
Constantly shifting lineups here. So this is, I guess, the first album with Tony Dolan, otherwise known as Demolition Man.
Yep.
I think the production again is really lacking on this on some of these albums. But it's good, thrashy, kind of punky. Black Under the Priest title track is great. Carnivorous is kind of like speed metally. Harder Than Ever is also quite good. I think it's a strong album. I guess coming in at number 9 out of 16 records, that's not too bad. But I definitely like others better. But it's definitely not a bad album. It's pretty good.
My next one, this one could be controversial. I initially I had it higher every time we did this, Pete. But then, I sat down and I re-listened to it again, and I was like, I had that face like I smelled a bad fart while I was listening to it, and I'm like, I hate to do it, but I'm doing it. I'm being honest. Possessed. This is the last of the original albums before they broke up. I never really liked this record. I always thought it was a huge letdown from the first three. I mean, for me, it's night and day. But there is still some, there's some good tracks on here. I like Satanicist, Flytrap. There's a couple others, but Too Loud for the Crowd. But my feeling is for having the original lineup. And in the 80s, I'm like, man, compared to those first three, this one is just jumps off the cliff. And I guess I just like the other ones. Some of the other, to me, all of this, I was ranking it like by the songs. Like, all right, how many songs do I really like? And even this, I'm like, well, shit, maybe I should have had, From the Very Depths, maybe I should have had that over Possessed. Because I listen to From the Very Depths more than Possessed. So I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard. I hear you. What do we got? We're at number 8, right? Resurrection from 2000. Last with Mantis. Title track is great. War Against Christ, big epic sounding. All There Is Fear, another good song. Pain is great. Black Famous Satan is also really good. Good heavy album. Maybe their last really great album with somewhat resembling the classic lineup, right? But yeah, good stuff. Resurrection, number 8.
Nice. My next one is the only one we have from Venom Inc. This is the 2017 album Ave. This one, me and my buddy Sean, we met them. So I had Abaddon, Mantis, and Demolition Man autograph it. And I think it was a really good, comeback record for these guys. It wasn't amazing, but I definitely liked it. I liked the weird single Dying Fleisch. I liked Bloodstained. I really liked the last 2 tracks. I Kneel to No God and Black and Roll. I think we've seen them now, me and my buddy Sean, like 6 times, I think. And we're seeing them in October. Playing in New York City for the new record. But I'm definitely looking forward to the new record. Hope it's even better than this. But I think this was a good start in the right direction.
Yeah, I enjoy that quite a bit. More on that in just a couple minutes here. Number 7 for me is going to be Cast in Stone from 1997. First album from the classic trio in 12 years, I think. Yep. Good stuff. Raising Hell, excellent. I think what's really amazing about this album is like Mantis sounds really good on guitar on this album. It's like, see, he'd been practicing in the years in between. So some really great guitar riffs and solos on this album. All Devil's Eve just crushes. Flight of the Hydra, probably my favorite song on the album. Great song. So heavy. God's Forsaken, Kings of Evil. Great comeback record. Too bad it didn't last too long. But yeah, Cast in Stone, number 7.
Nice. All right, my next one is the one I couldn't find. I have the 1987 import vinyl, and then I have it twice on CD. I could not find 1987's Calm Before the Storm. I have it somewhere. I do not have an original vinyl pressing on K-Tel Records, which was released in America, I think in early '88. But I have the European import from '87. But I like this record. I know a lot of people, especially Venom purists, shit all over it. But I think the songs are catchy. I kind of like, I understand the direction that they went in, and yeah, they sold out, but did they really? I mean, it still sounds like Venom. I mean, with Black Christmas and, Love Amongst the Dead. I mean, it definitely still sounds like Venom. Yeah, it's super cleaned up production. There's a lot of guitar work. I mean, yeah, they tone down the satanic references, but I still like it. I listened to that record a million times because I was looking forward to the tour. They had dates booked in 1988, and yeah, they never fucking came. I did see Kronos. He did like 3, 4 solo shows in New York City in 1989, and he did play a bunch of those songs with those two guitarists. But that was the closest I seemed to seeing them on that tour.
All right. Number 6, right?
Yep, I believe so.
I'll go with the Venom Inc. album, Ave, from 2017. Really good album, I think. And and that's their first album. Again, it's Demolition Man, Abaddon, and Mantis, right? So it's not like these guys were strangers to each other. But really strong album, Ave Satanas, great song, really heavy. Forged in Hell, Bloodstains, some great solos on here, really cool riffs. The drums are so heavy, and I think Demolition Man is just singing really ferociously on this album. Evil Dead's another good one. The Preacher Man, strong album. I mean, shit, ranking number 6, right? I mean, it's definitely good stuff, and I think the new album should hopefully be just as good, if not better. So,
oh, for sure, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yep.
All right, my next one is
top 5.
All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 5.
Yep.
And yeah, I had this lower, and then when I re-listened to it, I'm like, yeah, this really is pretty good. This is the reunion record. Cast in Stone. This is the original pressing, which was the double disc where they actually re-recorded like 13, I think, old songs and gave them a little bit of spit and polish. They sound really good. The first couple came out on this Venom 96 EP, and the rest came out on here. And this is the newer version. This was from, gosh, I think like 2000 something, where they had a couple live bonus tracks. But yeah, with Evil One, All Devil's Eve that Pete mentioned, Flight of the Hydra. I mean, it's really pretty good. I think not to knock any of the guys that have been in Venom, but man, there's something really special when it's Kronos and Mantis together.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can't stand each other. They're one of the most dysfunctional bands out there, along with Rat and Dokken and a million other, the Two Saxons and all these other bands that are fucked up. But man, I really did. I really like this record, and yeah, Cast in Stone.
Cool. All right, let's circle back. My number 5 for 2015, From the Very Depths.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Really like it a lot. Really like it a lot. I think this is one of those albums where it's got super production that just makes everything crunchier and heavier. The title track, excellent. The bass and guitar is produced so well, just absolutely huge. Smoke is great. Stigmata Satanas, excellent song. Temptation is good. Evil Law, really good album, just crushing production. I was pretty amazed when this album came out. I'm like, holy shit, like Venom is back again. So yeah, excellent stuff. Really good.
Yeah. Album. So when you listen to that and you're like, well, what the hell happened to the next one? Storm the Gates.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, my next one. This was the one Pete mentioned a couple clicks ago. This is my original CD of Primeval that I had Mantis, Abaddon, and Demolition Man sign. This is the new. I haven't even opened this one. This is the new Digipack remastered of Primeval. This was Tony Dolan's first record with them, and yeah, man, I really like some of the tracks. Primeval, Blackened Are the Priests, Carnivorous. They got the cover of Megalomania, School Days, which was the second, like the sequel to Teacher's Pet. And this one has the bonus re-recording of Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil. I think it's I'm not going to say it's Venom's Heaven and Hell, but it was definitely, especially looking back, I thought it was definitely a bit of a comeback after Possessed and Calm Before the Storm.
Yep. Agreed. All right, number four for me. I'm going to rank it a little bit higher than you. I think mainly because of it is the original group, and there are some pretty strong tracks on it. But overall, it's made up of some material that was a little old at the time. But Possessed from 1995, 1985. I mean, I'm sorry. Last Down with Mantis for a little bit. It's not as heavy hitting and groundbreaking as the first three albums, but it's got Power Drive, it's got Fly Trap, Satanicist, and Hellchild, and the title track, which I all really like a lot. The rest of it's kind of mediocre, but still, I'm going to rank it pretty high just because it is one of the original albums, and nostalgia, I guess. So.
All right. Well, we're getting to the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
To me,
now we know what the top three are, right? Yeah.
To me, these are three of the greatest metal albums of all time. And I always kind of thought, especially the first one, I always kind of thought the production really was kind of rough. Although I guess we're just used to listening to shitty records now, and also the modern remastering that they've done. Man, to me, it sounds 10 times better, the new CDs of this record in particular, than the old Combat record, on vinyl, because I have the original Venoms on Combat. Then it sounds so much better. But number three for me is the original 1981's Welcome to Hell. This is the last version I have, although I'm going to have to buy this new box set just to have it because it's so cheap, and I'm a sucker for this stuff. But man, I mean, just unbelievable songs on here, and I guess it's kind of hard because not all these songs were originally on here. Some of them were singles, but then the track listings were altered, and obviously, Pete, we didn't talk about it, but we're going by these. So Witching Hour, Angel Dust, In League with Satan, Welcome to Hell. I mean, Jesus Christ,
It's Void, yeah,
just unbelievable, just unbelievable material. So Bursting Out. I mean, just insanity. These guys were so pioneering. They had the speed of Motorhead. The satanic imagery and lyrics that other bands did, but they did it 10 times over. The stage show of Kiss. Some of the guitar from Judas Priest, and of course the leather from Judas Priest. I mean, Jesus, these guys,
and the whole punk vibe too, which is
absolutely
as well, yeah,
without a doubt. So man, that is just a melting pot, but unbelievable stuff. I remember, listening to this in the early '80s and just being completely blown away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, it's like, and that's my number three as well, by the way. It's kind of, when you go back and listen to it now, it's kind of crude by today's standards, but that was the charm of it, right? I mean, that's the whole thing with Venom, is that their early music and most of their catalog is very crude. It's very kind of primitive, but that's what's so great about it. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. It's not supposed to be sophisticated. So yeah, Welcome to Hell, great. I mean, you mentioned all the great songs. I mean, Witching Hour is just absolutely amazing. Sons of Satan, Poison. I mean, all these great songs. So yeah, but and it's funny because I think as much as we love this album, they have two that are even better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was it, Pete. This one was a tough. Even now, I'm like, do I switch these? I don't know. But all right, I'm going with what I originally typed up, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that will disagree with me. But at number two, I'm going with Black Metal. These are my three CD versions. Yeah, I mean the songs on here, better production than the first record. Songs are better. I mean, Black Metal, Buried Alive, Raise the Dead, Teacher's Pet, which I mentioned I wasn't even there on Monday's episode. Countess Bathory, Die Hard. Jesus Christ! Every song is a fucking 5-star classic. Everything about this album is amazing. I mean, Jesus, they coined the term black metal, which became an entire genre. Whatever, 7-8 years later, of music. So just unbelievable stuff. I mean, this is one of those. All three of these are some of those records. This is like Dawn of the Dead and Planet of the Apes and Conan the Barbarian. I'll just keep buying. Just keep putting them out. I'll just keep fucking buying them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this is the beginnings of extreme metal right here, basically.
Oh yeah, this is the blueprint.
Yeah, the top two are tough. I went with number two, At War with Satan from 1984. And again, it's not by much because I think both of these albums contain some of my favorite Venom albums of all time. But you got the sidelong title track, which is really quite experimental and progressive when you really think about it.
Oh yeah.
But then you got these bangers like Rip Ride and Genocide and Cry Wolf, Stand Up and Be Counted. I mean, these are classic Venom songs. I remember this album scared the shit out of me when I first got it. I was kind of like, I remember buying this album. I bought this album from like when I was in college, so first semester in college. Some like album vendor came to the student union building. He was selling tons of import metal LPs and whatnot. So I was just like, all right, I've been kind of putting off getting into this band for a couple of years. I said, I'm just going to go and buy this. It had just come out. And I remember bringing it back to my dorm room and putting it on. I'm like, what the hell did I just buy? Right. But it still packs a punch today. Great album. Could be number one. At War with Satan, number two. And
Yeah, that's my number one. The production was better. Here's my two copies of At War with Satan. And it blows my mind that they did this epic, 20-minute song. And I love the fact that they had like the intro for At War with Satan on the end of Black Metal.
Yeah.
But it always bothered me that they didn't reuse it on the album. So as a kid, when I got the albums, I made a tape where I put the intro of Black Metal of At War with Satan from Black Metal, and then tacked on, and somehow as a kid I got it to go seamlessly. And years later, on one of the compilation albums, they did that. They attached them. But man, the production's great. Yeah. I think the songwriting is a step up. It is. It's like you're right. It's experimental. It's progressive. I mean, it's crazy to think that these guys could do a 20-minute song and it didn't suck. No, it was entertaining. It was cinematic. It was a big story to tell. And yeah, the other songs on here, other than Arg, they're all fucking great. Rip Ride, Genocide, Cry Wolf, Stand Up and Be Counted, and even Women, Leather, and Hell. Really, really great stuff. I watched the video of them from the Seven Gates of Hell, the VHS. I don't even know how many times, which was done around this time. And man, I just think they were the coolest band in the world. And I think they could have been 100 times bigger if Kronos, and I'm assuming it's Kronos, wasn't so resistant to touring. How many tours did Slayer do from 1986? And Venom did one from 1986 till now. So
during the years where thrash and heavy music and the early music was just booming, right? Venom could have easily,
could have cleaned up.
Yeah. I do want to say too, Kronos' bass playing on this album is really, really good. He actually became a very competent bass player, and I loved his bass sound. So number one for me is Black Metal from '82. One of the most important albums of the early '80s. Countess Bathory is my favorite Venom song. It's interesting because my second favorite is actually Rip Ride. So I have like one favorite on each album that are like at the top of the heap. But yeah, Don't Burn the Witch, title track, To Hell and Back, Teacher's Pet. It's dirty, it's filthy, it's extreme, it's dark, it's thrashy, it's everything rolled into one. And you wouldn't have Death or Black Metal if it wasn't for these three albums, I should say. Yeah. So Black Metal, my number one.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I want to switch. I don't know. I'm sure. Long as those top three are at the three, I guess it really doesn't matter.
That's really all that matters, right? Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. Ranking the albums of Venom. There's a lot of them, all 16 of them. So if you guys want to play along down in the comments, rank all 16. Give us your top 5, your top 10, whatever you want to do. And I would say if you haven't listened to any of these albums past like the late 80s, there's a lot of them. But there are some really good tracks scattered amongst many of them. So they're all worth checking out, seeing which ones you like. I don't know, Chris, I don't have any of the compilations. Are there any like decent compilations from like that Cull Together, the latter part, some of the best songs in the latter part of the album?
No, because believe it or not, and I wonder if this is a financial deal all of the compilations are either the original lineup or the Demolition Man lineup.
Gotcha.
I do have one. There was one that came out, and I had the guy sign it. This one was one that combined them. This was in memoriam, but this came out in 1991, I think.
Oh, so it's missing a ton of shit.
Oh, so it's missing a ton of shit. But yeah, like all of these other albums, you know, Metal Black and Hell and all of these, they're not on any of these compilations.
Wow. Okay.
All of these compilations that, you know, that keep coming out, like In League with Satan, or this was excellent. If you, for the old stuff, there was a box set a few years ago, but again, it was all of the original albums. I mean, I didn't even open this one because I have all the tapes and the vinyl. This is the Assault series of all the EPs. But yeah, there's really not, Pete, any kind of compilation of everything. In Memoriam is one of the only ones. You know, I'm just clicking through here. I guess if you just want a best of the original stuff in Nominee Satanas, this is the double disc best of. But now he's re-releasing this with this, and then the first 4 records, and I think there's another disc to make up 7 CDs. In America, it's only $54, so that's
pretty good.
You know, if you don't have anything, that would be the one to get. Of course, when you also get the new Venom Inc. album on the same day.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing really that covers all of it. So maybe we'll have Jamie Laszlo work on that.
There you go, Jamie. There's your assignment. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching this ranking the albums of Venom. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. So stay tuned next Sunday for another episode of Ranking the Albums. And also, don't forget, in just a few short weeks, we've got See Tranquility Fall Fest at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York on October 1st. Doors open at noon. We're doing this all day long. So from like 12:30 in the afternoon till about midnight, we've got in the afternoon live on stage in the Prague Seat, Hudson Valley Squares. Saturday afternoon at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff, Chris Caffrey, Q&A. Chris Caffrey, of course, guitar player from Sabotage and TSO. We've got Andy Powell, guitarist from Wishbone Ash, doing a Q&A as well. Then we've got music from Sonus Umbra, Epic Tantrum, Pat Travers Band, Vanilla Fudge, and Nectar. So come on down to the Chance, hang out with all of us, and it'll be a good time. Until then, for Chris Alo, I'm Pete Pardo. See you next time here on Ranking the Albums. Take care. Bye-bye.